Hello, good evening. It is just after 8 p.m. and you're listening to the Women in Music show with me, Lydia Greatrix. And now it's time to meet this week's Woman of the Week. And this week it is the awesome Miss Baby Soul. You may recognise Miss Baby Soul from The Voice UK last year, where she got to the knockout stage on Team will.i.am with her incredible voice and her incredible stage presence. She's been in the music industry for a while though. She's toured with Paloma Faith's backing band as a singer, and she's done that since Paloma released her debut album in 2009. And I also just think there's never a dull moment when you're with her. She just radiates this beautiful, positive energy. So it was just really great just to sit down with her over Zoom and just chat about her career. She was just finishing off a recording session when I sat down with her, and she also was kind of in the middle of two different things, so she had to rush off to East London to do a video shoot. And the life of a pop star, hey? So cool. She starts this interview by kind of telling me that despite all the lockdowns, she's actually feeling quite okay in the current circumstances.
I shan't lie, last year lockdown was horrendous, evidently. For me, particularly horrendous because everything was going quite well, so it seemed. And then all of a sudden, in terms of like my personal journey, and then all of a sudden it was like, hold on, wait a minute, where is everyone and where is everything? That was really difficult. And then we went into another lockdown, didn't we? Opened back up and then went into this lockdown. This is like the third one. And I think a lot of my friends were felt worse about this one. I think probably because by this point we were all a little bit kind of tired. You know, we'd managed to keep our spirits up quite miraculously, or as much as we could last year. And then it's just kind of like now it's like, oh, it's 2021 now, surely it must be over. And it felt like you were trudging towards an unknown destination. But it feels really good now though, because like the sun's out again, because we had a great summer last year, didn't we? Which I loved.
I'm really intrigued by your story, kind of like how you got to this point. So like how much was like music a part of your life, kind of like growing up and your early years? Well,
my mum and dad were in a band together, so I feel like I was born singing. I just feel like I was just born, or at least born with music in my heart and in my ears, in my flesh, you know. So for me, that's always been the reality of who I am as a person. So to be able to do this for a living is a true blessing, because it's not necessarily something that I planned on doing either, because I'm like first generation Congolese British here in London. And for me, being able to do what I love doing is just like, it's wonderful to know that I'm able to do that. Which is kind of part of the reason why when the pandemic hit and they closed down all the live and entertainment industry, it was quite painful. Because for me, music gives freedom. It allows you to kind of like express and really be yourself, be at one with yourself. And I feel like the last year particularly really sort of took the wind out of my sails a little bit. But at the same time, it's given me the opportunity to go back on myself a little and sort of appreciate where I've come from with music.
Were you kind of like always like writing songs as a kid, or did you kind of come into it a little bit later? Like how did it all kind of work?
Yeah, no, totes. All of those things, all simultaneously. I literally, I used to write little stories when I was little. I used to record over my mum's she'd like have a dictaphone to record like her, like, so she had song ideas or whatever, and I obviously got the bright idea that I should definitely be doing the same. I mean, evidently that's what one does. So I commandeered the dictaphone and did my own versions and put forward my writing prowess all over her work, which I'm guessing probably wasn't a good thing. I've been doing it for as long as I can remember in different formats, but now in a little bit more of a professional format, because obviously I'm a songwriter now. But yeah, it's always been writing. It's like therapy, isn't it, writing? And so is music, and they can both I've always said like writing is my therapy and music is my shrink.
So what's your music taste like now, and what was it like back then? Kind of how did the two kind of compare?
My music tastes now are varied and broad, but I feel like they kind of always were, or at least the reason they are now is because of the fact that I was exposed to so many different types of people and music from quite an early age. From Congolese music to Caribbean music to American music to British and world musics. When I say world music, I mean like literally like when I started hearing music from Asia and the Balkans. Do you know what I mean? And being like, whoa, never heard that before. This is really cool and interesting. Like I'm literally just like all of the different types of music that I've heard. For me, there is something that a friend of mine calls the universal good, which is just basically like this overriding energy that that all the best things are tapped into, and you can just tell when something is a part of that. So it doesn't matter where it comes from or whatever. It like if it's good, it's just good. Obviously, everything is relative, but I still feel that way.
Your favorite woman in music, Eartha Kitt. The song that you sent me is in French. I'm just like, love that.
C'est si bon. It's a song by Eartha Kitt, which is basically about being lovers, but also wanting to be lovers with looking particularly for a rich lover. She was kind of like silver screen siren of the 1950s.
Oui, oui, that was C'est si bon by Eartha Kitt, chosen by this week's Woman of the Week, Miss Baby Soul. Miss Baby Soul is a musician who's based in London, who you may have seen competing on The Voice UK last year, or you also may have seen her doing the backing vocals for Paloma Faith on tour. And all of this experience on stage has earned her a stage presence where she's like interacting with the audience tons and she's telling stories through her songs. And to be honest, if you haven't already seen like a video of her performing, you really should just go and check them out online. She's just so funny and just witty and great on stage. And I'm just fascinated by where this has come from. Was it like purely down to lots of practice, or does she just have something naturally inside her which just makes her want to be on stage and be that entertainer?
I'm not entirely sure. I think it's a mixture of the two. I think it's because at the end of the day, when you do something enough times, you get better at it. Well, you should. Do you know what I mean? They say, to be a master at something, you have to put in your 10,000 hours. And I'm much closer to my 10,000 hours now than I was when I first started. I'm guessing that definitely a part of it is down to me growing through time. But I must have had something to start with, whatever that was. I couldn't tell you now. Probably blocked it out. It's probably awful. That's probably why I was like, oh my God, no. I remember the first time I got on stage. My goodness, awful. First time I ever got on a stage and had to perform in front of an audience I didn't know. I got up on there, started singing, and I had the most amazing vibrato ever to be known to man, all of a sudden out of nowhere, just because my left leg kept going. What I mean is it was wobbling madly. Like it was literally like I couldn't, like the shaking was immense. And so as I was shaking, my voice was kind of like sounding as though I was like this amazing vocalist, but not at all. I was just really, really scared. It was like, that was like, few things like that. So yeah, no, I wasn't born with it.
That's like, I honestly don't know, because I always like look at it and I'm just like, how did she do it? I mean, I know you've kind of like, you've been in this industry for a while, and you're also backing singer for Paloma Faith. Like, let's just name drop that.
Yes.
That's so cool.
I'm very proud.
Like, what's Paloma Faith like to work with? Can you like spill the tea?
Amazing. And no, I can't spill all the tea because it's warm. No, I'm joking.
Is there any tea to spill?
No, there's no tea to spill. That's more what I mean. She's an amazing, wonderful person. A dear friend of mine of many, many years. I love her immensely. and she's just brilliant. The only thing that I could ever say about her is how brilliant she is.
It must just be so
awesome.
Fun, just like touring the UK and playing to thousands of people in an arena. Like,
yeah, but doing it with your friends, that's the funnest part. Because I've done it with other people and not felt as comfortable or as happy, and not because they weren't wonderful human beings, but just because I didn't have the same kind of connection as I do with the people in Paloma Faith's band and Paloma Faith herself and her team generally. Because, you know, like, especially having been there from the beginning, I've met a lot of people through that through her, like including fan base. You know, like people who follow my work and my music because they've been introduced to me by her. Because she's always very complimentary of her band. So when we're all on stage together, she will always kind of give us our moment to sort of shine, like, you know, a la Jazz from back in the day, kind of, yeah, now it's your solo. And it's nice. It's more than nice. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's very enjoyable to be a part of a family that's filled with such joy and love.
That's so great, because I think it does make a difference as a music fan when the singer compliments their band so much. Because I went to see Christine McQueen's on tour a couple of years ago. I saw her everywhere.
Amazing.
I saw her a few too many times to feel like it was normal. To put it that way. And she was so like involved with her dancers, like every single dancer was like a character in her stage, and all her band as well all had like their moments, and it just it makes a difference, doesn't it? Like when you're
I really think so as well. I definitely think so. When I'm watching a show, I do like to, because at the end of the day, the stage is like a playground, you know, and it doesn't matter which part of the playground you're in or looking from, you're always kind of looking around to sort of like make new friends, aren't you? And like, I think that when I'm watching a show, I'm like always looking around to see what everyone's doing, because I'm like, oh, quite like that one. I really like the way the bass player's dancing when they're playing, and it's like, oh, that's my new best friend for this minute of watching the show. And oh gosh, did you see the way that dancer just did a backflip off the back of the thing? Oh wow, yeah, no, that's my new best friend for this minute of watching the show. I quite like that whole idea of just being like, you know, looking at the people on the stage as people that you're interacting with visually.
So the first song you sent me,
yes,
The Future, I'm going to play that now. So can you like tell me about it before we play it?
Well, The Future is a song that I wrote after the 2011 London riots, when a gentleman called Mark Duggan was killed, by the police. And then I was really concerned about the London riots having happened in the first place, because I was hearing about people like looting rice and like people taking their kids in to like size them up for like school uniforms and stuff. And I was like, wow, have we really gotten to a place in our society where people are not able to afford rice and school uniforms? That should probably be something that we look into then, shouldn't we? And it was kind of like, you know, cutbacks from funding for like youth clubs and kind of community spaces and stuff like that. And I just thought it kind of stands to reason that people would react, and people would sort of like, you know, look for, or young people particularly would be looking for ways to distract themselves. So I was just kind of like, well, how can we look at all the issues that we have in society and try to make them better? What solutions can we come up with? Is there a solution? Because right now it seems as though everything's going mad. Do you know what I mean? And then my friend Speech DeBell, she's a UK rap artist who's a good friend of mine, and she features on the track. And she based her lyrics on the murder of Eric Garner by police in America. So it's quite like a strong, politically charged song, but at the same time, I think that the double bass is really cool in it.
That's The Future by Miss Baby Soul, featuring Speech DeBell. That was such a powerful song, isn't it? Actually, as she said, quite politically charged, but yeah, very powerful. Now, Miss Baby Soul is my Woman of the Week this week. She is a musician from London who is certainly one to watch this year. She's actually got a new single coming out tomorrow, which is called Every Day, and I'll be playing it on next week's show. But to kind of tease the sound, I wanted to ask her what we can expect from this song. What does it sound like? Without giving too much away, how would she describe this awesome new song that's coming out tomorrow?
It's going to sound very brassy. That's what it's going to sound like. Oh, I'm excited for you to hear it. I hope you like it. And if you don't, that's okay. Don't worry, I don't mind. If you don't like, just don't tell me. But I don't mind if you don't like it. We're all entitled to not like things. It's fine.
You're a woman of few words. I feel like that could be interpreted in many ways. Just a brass line. Oh, I'm excited.
No, I know. But I want to sort of like, I want to dangle the carrot a little, and please pre-save it on Spotify immediately, because it's potentially being released at midnight. On Friday, I would say. So as many pre-saves as I can get before that the day is good for me, because then it just means that apparently it's something to do with algorithms. I don't know about these things, but all I do know is that it's a good look if everyone that I've ever known goes to Spotify and pre-saves my song Every Day.
What's been like the highlight of your career so far?
To be honest with you, I literally this year, how I don't know, but I managed to perform at the Royal Albert Hall for Women of the World Festival this year, which was done online, obviously, because we were in lockdown. I managed to do a gig at the Royal Albert Hall in its 150th year of existence. I was extremely proud and honoured, and especially for Women of the World Festival for WOW UK. And because I've always celebrated International Women's Day, I've always thought that, there's always been kind of like interesting shows and programs put together for you to be able to absorb on that day. So I've always sort of like celebrated it, gone down to the South Bank or whatever. So it was a real honour to be a part of that. It was really weird performing in the Royal Albert Hall whilst it was empty. Felt a little bit like a ghost town, but at the same time I was just so honoured and so proud to be there. It was really emotional because it was sad, because it was closed, obviously because of the pandemic, but also just like because it was happy. It was so wonderful because they still open, they were still able to open the space under COVID restrictions, of course, but they were still able to open the space in order to offer it for such a cool festival.
Yeah, that video was how I kind of came across you again after The Voice. So yeah, you're in the studio at the moment. Are you working on an album or any more singles? Yes. All the things. I'm working on all those things. And I've just started the Patreon page. So we'll see. We'll see if people like my work enough to be able to help me to actually make it. So yeah. Hopefully things will go really, really well, and I'll be making many more singles, and I'll be finishing my album, and I'll be able to share that with you all as well, which I'm just so happy that I've even got a single out at the moment, to be honest, because I'm telling you, last year it was a bit touch and go. I didn't know if it was going to happen, I'll tell you. Because I was going to release the song after I was on the show, after I was on The Voice. I was going to release it, but then I obviously could, I could have, but I didn't feel great. I didn't, and it doesn't feel, it's not very incentivizing, because usually as well you put out music because you want the opportunity to go and play the music live, which then that option was taken away, so I was quite disheartened. But now we're back on the horse. We're back, people. We're back. Yes, we're back out into the world. So I'm hoping that will mean that we'll have more live shows, and there'll definitely be more music, and yeah. I really hope I can come and see you live as well.
I really, really hope you can too.
But without any further ado, I'd really like to play On the Dole.
Yes.
So before we play it, can you kind of talk about it?
On the Dole, basically, I wrote about being on the dole and how disheartening it is to have to sort of like justify why it is that you are in the position that you're in, for whatever reasons you may be in that position. Do you know what I mean? like when I've been the brokest and needed support, was grateful that the support was there for me, but felt judged. And do you know what I mean? And didn't feel great about myself, and also then felt trapped, because as a creative, then it was like being in that position makes you feel like you don't necessarily, it doesn't make you feel very buoyant, doesn't make you feel very productive. Sometimes you can end up just in a vicious cycle. So that's what that song's about. I write such happy songs, don't I?
It's good though, because I like really relate to it, being on the doll myself. So yeah, it's a great song. So to finish us off in true radio style, can you introduce On the Doll for Gorgeous FM?
Hello, this is Miss Baby Soul, and the next song you're about to hear here on Gorgeous FM is my song, and it's called On the Doll.
What a voice. That is On the Doll by Miss Baby Soul. What a beautiful song as well. It's just very personal, and I can highly relate to it too. Miss Baby Soul was my Woman of the Week this week. And if you would like to follow Miss Baby Soul's journey on her social media channels, you can just search Miss Baby Soul. Soul is spelled S-O-L. And she's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, the lot. And yeah, she's got a single coming out tomorrow called Every Day. Go and pre-save that on wherever you get your music from. Now I've got a little